Lombardo was born in Havana, Cuba on the 16th of February 1965, where his father owned 3 meat markets. He is of Italian descent through his paternal great-grandfather, who relocated to Cuba in the 19th century. Lombardo moved with his family to Southgate, California when he was 2 years old and still speaks Spanish. He has 2 older brothers and an older sister. His brothers had previously emigrated to the U.S. via Operation Peter Pan. His musical interests were fueled by his first musical performance when he was 8 years old. He played bongos to Santana's Everybody's Everything. Lombardo joined his school's band and played the marching drum. After noticing his son's persistent interest in music, Lombardo's father bought him a 5-piece Pearl Maxwin drum set for $350 when Lombardo was 10 years old. Lombardo bought his first record, Alive by Kiss, to play along with. He learned to play Kiss 100,000 Years by repeatedly listening to the record until he could play the drum solo perfectly. Lombardo asked his parents for drum lessons. Although they agreed, the lessons were short-lived. Lombardo grew bored because the lessons were repetitive and did not challenge him. Lombardo's friends introduced him to disco, which appealed to his affinity for funk, Latin, and soul. He became a temporary DJ for a mobile disc jockey under the name A Touch of Class. Unimpressed with their son coming home at 4 a.m., Lombardo's parents pressured him into quitting the DJ gig or face military school. Lombardo returned to playing rock music in 1978 and befriended several like-minded musicians around Southgate. Lombardo attended Pius X High School. He performed Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Goode with a guitarist named Peter Fashing during the school's talent show. Lombardo soon formed a band named Escape with 2 guitarists. Lombardo found a vocalist to join the band after he transferred to Southgate High School in 1979, and the band performed at several events under the name Sabotage, but the band was short-lived. Lombardo's parents convinced him to quit the band because he was withdrawing from everything except music. Knowing her son was set on pursuing a life on the stage, Lombardo's mother asked him to at least graduate high school. He honored her wish and graduated from Southgate High School in June 1983. Immediately following, Lombardo was recommended by his technical drafting teacher to Diesel Energy Systems Company. Impressed with his skill, Lombardo was hired on the spot. Around this time, Lombardo's musical career was ready to take off. When he was 16, Lombardo's friends told him about a guitar player, Kerry King, who lived a few blocks away. Lombardo dropped by King's house to meet him. Lombardo introduced himself, mentioned he played drums, and shared that he wanted to start a band. King jammed with Lombardo and later showed Lombardo his guitar collection. The two quickly realized they shared some of the same musical interests. After rehearsing in Lombardo's garage several times, King introduced the drummer to another guitarist named Jeff Hanneman. The 3 rehearsed several times before they decided they needed a singer and bass player. King had previously played with Tom Araya in a band called Quits, and decided to introduce Araya to Lombardo and Hanneman. With Slayer's lineup now complete, Lombardo stabbed out the now iconic logo, and the band began to develop their groundbreaking sound. Slayer recorded their debut album, Show No Mercy, soon after. Lombardo enlisted producer Rick Rubin for their 3rd album, Rain in Blood, in 1986. Lombardo left the band during their tour to promote Rain in Blood. Tony Scaglione of Whiplash was enlisted to replace Lombardo. Unhappy with the change, Rick Rubin repeatedly called Lombardo asking his return. Lombardo initially refused before eventually returning to the band in 1987. 10 years after leaving Slayer, Lombardo got a phone call from the band in 2001, asking if he would like to perform a few shows. Hanneman was eager for Dave to return, but King was less enthusiastic. King thought Lombardo was not up to snuff but was blown away by Lombardo's performance in rehearsals. King later said, "He's got the feet and he's got the hands, he's not missing a step." Lombardo recorded drums on Slayer's 2006 release Christ Illusion, promoting the album on the Unholy Alliance tour. King said Lombardo was a major attraction for the fans, and one of the reasons for their surge in popularity. King and other band members preferred Lombardo on drums. Lombardo recorded another album with Slayer in 2009 titled World Painted Blood. He left the band once again in February 2013, shortly before the band was due to play Australia's Soundwave Festival. He left following a contract and pay dispute with band members. Slayer's final concert was held on the 30th of November 2019. Lombardo stated that he had no interest in attending their final performances because he was busy with his own musical projects. After the birth of his first child in 1993, Lombardo formed Grip Inc. with voodoo cult guitarist Waldemar Sorichta. The pair recruited bassist Jason Vibrox and vocalist Gus Chambers to complete the lineup. An early five-piece lineup briefly featured former Overkill guitarist Bobby Gustafson, who claims to have come up with the name Grip, which Lombardo expanded to Grip Inc. after Gustafson's departure, in order to avoid a potential lawsuit. Grip Inc. debut record was released in 1995. The album, titled Power of Inner Strength, was distributed via California-based label Metal Blade Records. The band released Nemesis in 1997. Jeffries praised Lombardo's crushing drum work, which takes center stage on the album. Bassist Vibrox left the band in 1999. He was replaced by Stuart Carruthers. The band released Solidify later that year. The album was described as a step towards progressive and exotic rhythms, structures, and instrumentation, while never compromising intensity. Lombardo was once again praised for his drumming on the album by Jeffries, who stated his style is expressive and technically excellent. Tom work on cuts like Bug Juice and Lockdown. Lombardo is proud of Grip Inc. and believes it made him more creative as a musician. In 1997, Lombardo began collaborating with vocalist and guitarist Jerry Nessler and bassist Juan Perez after the demise of their former band Civil Defiance. Initially called Letter Bomb, the experimental trio later changed the name to Film. The group played shows in the LA area and worked on material at Lombardo's home studio, until Lombardo returned to Slayer in 2001. Nessler and Perez kept going with new drummer George Hernandez, and releasing the M album under the name K-Kelk Muzzle in 2002. Lombardo and Nessler both guested on DJ Spooky's 2005 album Drums of Death, and eventually reformed Film in early 2010, after a jam at the famous Rainbow Bar and Grill in West Hollywood, recruiting War's Francisco Pancho Tomaselli on bass. Fantomas. In 1998, Lombardo joined a side project called Fantomas with Faith No More vocalist Mike Patton and Melvins guitarist Buzz Osborne. The band formed when Lombardo was approached by Patton at a Faith No More concert. Patton asked Lombardo about his fusion project. Patton called Lombardo several months after Faith No More broke up and asked if Lombardo wanted to join Patton's fusion project. Lombardo enthusiastically agreed. Lombardo later described Fantomas as the hardest music he has played. Slayer doesn't even come close. Slayer was hard in a physical way. This is physically demanding and requires feeling. No clicking of sticks. The drummer described Fantomas' sound by stating if Picasso was a musician, this would be his music. In 1999, Lombardo performed drum work on the Testament album The Gathering, rounding off a veritable supergroup with Steve DiGiorgio and James Murphy. However, he left the band right before the album's world tour in 1999-2000. On March 2022, it was announced that Lombardo had rejoined Testament as the replacement of Gene Hoglan, who had left the band nearly 2 months earlier. His return to Testament occurred just 1 month before the start of his first major tour with the band, and they also planned to record a new album with him. Lombardo expressed uncertainty that he would return to Testament after announcing that he would be sitting out of the band's 2023 tour dates.